All right, welcome in. Happy Tuesday now, February 20th here on the College Basketball Tip-Off Show. Love this card here tonight, 25. A lot of meaningful games on tap here tonight in some of the biggest conferences. Number one team in the country will be going at it. UConn with Houston winning last night. It's going to be interesting down the stretch here, but we've got other games also in the Big 12 that a lot of people are going to have their eye on. The Atlantic 10 is cooking now, so needless to say, we got a little something for everyone here tonight, all different fan bases, and we'll have some best bets along the way, and we'll do it, of course, with three of the best at WagerTalk.com. Two of the best, as I didn't realize it was Bryan Power Day, but apparently that's it. So not quite sure why we got to keep having this conversation, Robert. Bryan Power in the house. Always a pleasure. And Mr. Adam Trigger ready to roll here. I might have to squint to see what logo that is, because that will definitely coincide with one of the games he's going to break down for you here, no doubt. NRR1L, Steve Merrill back in the house, ready to go here. First of all, big shout out. Trig on the show yesterday, live, which is why it helps to hit that subscribe and like button here, guys. Trig literally watched Colgate go all the way up to a 9-point favorite and was like, absolutely not. And gave you that winner last night, guys. They did get the win, of course, didn't get the cover. So we got win, 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 and win here this week, and we're going to try to do the same, and we're going to kick it off here with that number one team in the country. And BP, you're the guy that's going to kick it off for us here, man. UConn, deservedly so. First, I believe, unanimous AP number one in a long, long time. That's what we're dealing with here, defending champs. Laying 3.5. Are you laying it or are you not buying it?
Well, Joe, the reason they brought me on the show here is because who better to tell you to bet against the unanimous number one team in the country?
Oh, yes.
Man, yours truly. Look, it's time to sell high on UConn, I think, Joe. They are the first unanimous number one of the season. We have not had a unanimous number one in the AP poll. UConn now, their longest run at number one since 1998-99. That was the season Richard Hamilton led them to a national championship. I believe they beat Duke in the final that year. That was my freshman year at OU, if I remember correctly. Anyway, though, those were simpler times. On Saturday, UConn handed Marquette quite the beatdown. It was actually the largest margin of victory ever, Joe, in a game between two top five AP teams. UConn won that 81-53 as a 7-point favorite, solidifying them as the number one team in America. Tonight, they're looking to make a little history. With a win, the Huskies can become the first team ever to win 15 straight Big East games. That sounds pretty nice. But like I said, Joe, they teach you when you're young, don't put your hand on the stove. Well, I never listen. And I am going with Creighton, who is a home dog for the first time all season. So to me, it's sell high on UConn. Like I said, we're able to get Creighton getting points. Believe it or not, I made this number UConn minus 0.5, just half a point. So I think we're getting good value at 3. Creighton's on a bit of a roll themselves. They've won 3 in a row. They just put it on Butler over the weekend. UConn cannot possibly shoot as well as they did in the second half against Marquette. I don't think there's a basketball team, pro, college, whatever, the all-star, whatever, that can shoot as well as UConn did in the second half, 2 straight games. They were 58% from 3 in the second half against Marquette. Creighton, in the first meeting between these teams, Creighton's offense was no good, but defensively, what did they do against UConn? They held them to 35% overall, 26.3% from 3. They've got the height inside to neutralize Klingon. Joe, give me the 3 with Creighton, who will be better offensively in the rematch than they were the first go-around. I say that because they shoot 37.3% from 3 in Omaha. UConn was minus 2.5 at St. John's. Yeah, if those two teams played tomorrow, the line would be a little higher. But I'm getting 3 with Creighton, who's a lot better than St. John's. Creighton is the play here.
Man, he is adamant about fading the champs, number one team in the country. Take the damn points. That's what Brian Power thinks. And 8:30 Eastern time tip here on that one, guys. I think it's going to be a phenomenal game. And Trig, again, big call yesterday. You on the show, sweeping the board here for us. And we got another one interesting game here tonight. A lot of people been back and forth on this game with UMass and Virginia Commonwealth, VCU. It's gotten a little movement this morning here in this one. How are you approaching this matchup?
Yeah, just so like you said yesterday, we added one on the show, Lafayette. It won. And I'm going to do the same thing here with UMass because this line has come back into range to the point where I can just play money line at minus 130. And that's sort of good enough for me here. I like UMass to win this game. And now that I can get a pretty cheap money line, I made this a client play. So this will be a 4% best bet. And I'm going to talk about why I like UMass in this game. So first of all, if you go to their social media, you'll see they're promoting Fill the Bill tonight, Joe. What they mean by that is the William D. Mullins Center. Their on-campus arena, and they want it full, which would be nice because it hasn't been full in a very long time. Since I can remember going to UMass games, over the past decade, it's really never full, and it hasn't had more than 4,400 people this year. That was their biggest crowd of the year to this point against George Mason. It's a 9,500 seat arena. It's a hockey arena that they play basketball in. But they really want it full tonight, and I hope they get their crowd because the fans should be coming out for this UMass team. Frank Martin's doing an awesome job. He's turned around this program in just the second year, and I hope the fans show up because they really are pleading to get them there, and I think that would just give them the extra boost they need to get over the hump and win this game. But first of all, UMass is 11-2 at home, so they haven't really needed the fans, to win games in this building. And second, this is a great matchup for them. Now, VCU is red hot. They've won 9 of their last 10. But the reason for that is their three-point defense has been elite. They've basically just wiped teams out, on the three-point line. You saw Dayton go down to VCU, couldn't hit a three. St. Bonaventure struggled from three. Like all these teams in the A-10, there seems to be a handful of them that really like to kind of, run the three-point shot as like a focal point of their offense. They just have not been able to hit the three against VCU. They do, and it's cost them. And I think Frank Martin's going to get on his team here and just say that can't happen tonight. And I think they're going to be on high alert for that not to happen because VCU has been so good defending the three. Now, if you go back to VCU's last game, it was against St. Louis. I was at the first game against St. Louis where St. Louis just tried to shoot threes and really struggled and got blown out. Now, St. Louis did lose that game against VCU the second time around, but they were much better offensively. They scored 85 points. They got to the rim. They got to the free throw line. And I'm hoping that Frank Martin kind of uses that as a blueprint for what his team is going to do here because UMass has an elite post offense for this league. Matt Cross can get to the rim, and Josh Cohen, the 6'10" big they brought in from St. Francis, has translated to the A-10. You don't always see that. You go get a guy from the NEC and then ask him to be like, your main post threat in the A-10. It doesn't always work, but it's worked for Cohen. He's been phenomenal. And I think these two can really, give VCU trouble on the interior. So we'll fade VCU's sort of run of late. They've won 9 of 10, but I still think they have a loss coming in their future. And if there's a team to do it, it's going to be UMass, who's got guys that can really score in the paint because that's how you beat VCU. So hopefully they fill the bill tonight, Joe, or at least get some sort of energy in there. But either way, I think UMass wins this game.
Yeah, styles make fight. It's an interesting one here tonight with UMass and VCU as Trig making another in-show live decision here about diving in to a play in that one. And then, of course, double R1L. Leave it to him to head out to the Big 12, where awful lot of people are going to be interested in this big game here, Steve. And it's clearly the market has decided there is one team they like, and there is one team they think might be peeking ahead a little bit here. Which way do you lie when it comes to Baylor taking on BYU in Provo?
Yeah, I always post free plays every day on my page at wagertalk.com. And I actually got this up nice and early last night on Monday because I did think the line was going to move. It had already gone up to -3. I posted it as a free play BYU -3. It's now up to -4. But I've also got three strong best bets for tonight on Tuesday that I like a lot. It's a strong college basketball card tonight. Get that 3-for-1 special right now for just 29. Steve Merrill, wagertalk.com. And once again, the free play of the night is BYU in this game. And I still like them at -4. Several reasons why they're the preferred side in this one. First of all, tough scheduling spot for Baylor. They're playing their third game now in 7 nights, and they have to factor in the altitude on the road as well. You know, BYU always has a strong home court, that altitude. They're 13-2 at home this season. By the way, they're winning their home games by 22 points on average, so it is a legitimate strong home court. And then you factor in the fact that Baylor just played on the road at West Virginia, traveling back west now to the thin air and altitude, just 2 days off, and third game once again in 7 nights. Doesn't look like a good setup here. And they also just played a month ago, and Baylor won that game by 9 on their strong new home court. But BYU actually led by 6 at halftime and then got outscored by 15 in the second half. Baylor was lights out from 3 in that game. They were 43.5%. They also had a 14 free throw attempt edge at home. I don't think that'll repeat itself on the road tonight. So several reasons. Scheduling spot is good, but we also get the strong home court revenge angle. And, BYU also coming off a loss at Joe Ranieri's Oklahoma State Cowboys this past Saturday, so they'll be extra focused on top of it. This is why the line's moving higher, and I agree with the move. I like BYU -4 in this late game tonight on Tuesday. And don't forget, my 3 strongest plays are available, a 3-for-1 special for Tuesday night college hoops. Steve Merrill, wagertalk.com.
Yeah, and not to mention coming up on Saturday in Waco, Texas. Welcome to the Houston Cougars. So that should be a lot of fun for Baylor.
I'll be in the building there.
I know you are. Sid, you're going to be in-house, boots on the ground in a monster card as well Saturday, but a huge game coming up for Baylor. All right, so there you got 3 big game breakdowns. We're going to come up with 3 best bets for you here on this 25-game card tonight. And before we get there, don't forget, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new to us here, as nobody will have more daily and weekly content on all the big games across all the sports like we do here at Wager Talk TV. So hit that subscribe button as we bring it back to the top. Bryan Powers already crushed the hopes of dreams of those in Stores, Connecticut. And you don't care. You're not repeating anything. You certainly ain't winning tonight against Creighton, says Bryan Power, which leads me to think that this next game, most people will probably never. Oh, look at that. I thought for sure we were never going to hear of either of these 2 teams. But you're actually going to Morgantown, I believe, right? West Virginia at home, taking on UCF. Could this be another dog in the future with you?
I'll tell you what, Joe. I wish I was actually going to Morgantown with my boots on the ground.
Oh, it's in Orlando.
Yeah. Well, no. This game is in Morgantown, but I wish I was going because I'll tell you why. Morgantown is a great drinking town where they happen to go to college as well. Now, yesterday I was on Wager Talk today with Teddy and Prez. I said I absolutely loved my best bet, and my best bet was Virginia Tech, Joe. I don't know if you checked the scores overnight. They beat Virginia by a lot. So was really happy what we did Monday. I've got 2 best bets, not 1, but 2 for Tuesday. You can get them right now on my page, wt.buzz/BP for $29. I have 5 plays. So I'm playing 20% of this 25-game card. You can get the full 5-game card for $39. And if you use the coupon code WEEK25, that's WEEK25, you can get 7 days for $44. And this is one of the 5 plays I've got for tonight, Joe. West Virginia plus 3.5. In my big game breakdown, I said tonight's the first time all season Creighton is a home dog. Well, tonight is also the first time all season that UCF has been favored on the road. And we do have to account, obviously, that they're facing the worst team in the Big 12, which is WVU. But the Knights this year, Joe, they have not traveled well. That doesn't shock me. I know it doesn't shock you. It's their first year in the conference. They're 1-5 in Big 12 road games. As I mentioned, they've yet to be favored. Not only that, they've been a dog of 5 or more every time on the road. Even in a down year for West Virginia, Morgantown, a tough place to play, especially if you're new to the conference. All 8 of West Virginia's straight-up victories this season have come at home. And I know people can point to the Mountaineers' recent form being really lousy. They've lost 4 straight by double digits. But let's look at UCF. They've lost 3 straight. And while the final margins have been closer, they've trailed in each of those 3 games by double digits themselves. They've kind of rallied late to make a game of it, but kind of misleading finals there, in my opinion. And you look at the travel involved for UCF, okay? This was a big talking point coming into the year for the Big 12, geography. UCF was at BYU Tuesday. Then they come home to face Cincinnati. Now it's back up to Morgantown. This is a revenge spot for West Virginia. They lost down in Orlando by 13 last month. But the difference in that game, guys, a -15 differential in made free throws. I don't think we see a repeat of that tonight. Take the points. WVU, would not be surprised if we get an outright win here. Go Nears.
Yeah, there used to be a coach that knew the bar hours in Morgantown. I don't know whatever happened to him. Let's go to Adam Trigger, who has been known to participate in a cool libation one way or the other at a college campus near you. So Trig, you gave us UMass and VCU live here on the show just a couple minutes ago. But you're heading, is it to the MAC, I believe, for a best bet here tonight? And again, this is 2 teams that you broke down early in the preseason. You talked about Akron, you talked about Toledo. So who wins this one here tonight?
Yeah, I broke them down with my good pal Bryan Power, who's on the show, and I'll actually reference that in the breakdown here. So I want to make a parallel. I don't that picture's always on standby somehow. I want to make a parallel between Akron and Colgate. So Colgate's the team we talked about yesterday. We played against them and hit a 4% best bet with Lafayette. Akron is similar in the respect that I think they took a step back from where they were last year, but their conference collectively took a massive step back. So similar to the Patriot League, it's been hard to find good spots to play against Akron because everyone else in the league took a step back. So even though, there's the Akron, it makes sense to want to play against them. There just hasn't been many great situations because a lot of these teams, the Kent States, the Ohios, Buffalo has been horrible. A lot of teams that have been like the next tier in this league just haven't been any good. But Toledo's kind of one that, we'll go back to me and BP talking about this team prior to the season, has sort of exceeded expectations. This is a team that you got to remember, this team lost Ray J. Dennis, Cedric Miller, JT Shoemate. That's 19, 16, and 16 points per game coming into the season. That's an insane amount of production gone. But it hasn't really changed this team that much. Not as much as I thought it would. Not as much as I know Brian thought it would. We thought that this team might struggle to score a little bit, but, coming into play, here they are, 80.8 points per game. They're 25th nationally in field goal percentage, 21st in three-point shooting. They still struggle to defend, but, the scoring is sort of right in line with what it was last year. And last year, Toledo was right up there at the top of this conference. They were, they kind of got to the end of the year, and it was like them and kind of Kent State. We're the 2, in my opinion, that were impressing the most. I think Toledo ended up having a sickness in the MAC tournament where a bunch of guys got the flu and then they lost that semifinal game. But this was a really good team, and they look a lot like last year's team. So I think this is the team that might be able to get one over on Akron, who, again, Enrique Freeman's a pro. That dude's probably going to be in the NBA. He's the best player in this conference. He's an absolute menace. But, and Ali's been really good since that's been huge for Akron. Since they got him back, got him a waiver. Those have been the best 2 players on this team. But they just don't have, the perimeter threats. They brought in Caleb Thornton from Northern Illinois, who really hasn't panned out. They just don't have a ton of shooting. And in my opinion, Enrique Freeman and Ali have essentially been able to carry this team because there's so many lesser teams in this conference. They just ride Freeman and overpower teams, and they're just better than the majority of teams in this league. But the one team I think could get them is Toledo. Akron won the first meeting, but not by much. I think Toledo might be able to make adjustments there. And it's just you look, I keep coming back to like last year's Toledo team losing a bunch of production, but then they sort of have hit a home run in the upside department. Like Raheem Moss has turned into a double digit scorer. Javon Simmons has turned into a double digit average per game. The freshman was it Sonny Wilson has kind of like ended up being really good. You go back to the beginning of the season, we didn't know that they were going to get this kind of offensive production from those guys, and that's why we thought Toledo was going to take a step back. So the only reason this didn't make my client card is I did kind of like think Akron might be like -1 here, and we might get like that type of value with Toledo. I think the books kind of got this correct, making this -2. So not a ton, not enough value there for me. But like just to pick another game, I've got 3 client plays today. UMass being one of them that I talked about earlier. Just to kind of pick another game that I think I do think Toledo here is the right side. I think they find a way on their home floor. It comes out of the, kind of the want to fade Akron. I just don't think Akron is quite as good as they were last year. And I just don't think there's been the teams in the MAC to take advantage of that. So Toledo's the one that can. Toledo's really good at home. Kowalczyk's like 14-year veteran coach, and it looks like he has the same team from last year despite losing Dennis, Miller, and Shoemate. At least the numbers would suggest that being the case. So I'll take Toledo here for another sort of best bet. I just think they get it done against Akron tonight.
Yeah, well, they start hitting threes like they're capable of. Should be a very long night here for Akron. I'm sorry. Did you have something to say there, Bryan P? Akron, your Zips? You're a big Zip fan, I believe, aren't you?
No, I'm not a big Zip fan. I'm hoping they fall on their face.
All right, settle down. Settle down. Nobody asked for a whole thing here. All right, just saying you look like you were a little annoyed there. That's all I'm saying. All right, Steve Merrill. Double R1L. We've gotten a bevy of fantastic picks so far from Adam Trigger. So we're hoping that you can absolutely lay out a best bet here for us. Tell the folks what you got going on over at WagerTalk.com. And somebody's got to do the Big East. So why not you, my man? What are you doing for a best bet?
Yeah, we're going to look at a free play here for one of the big games tonight in just a moment. But a quick reminder, if you're talking best bets, I've got 3 of them for my clients tonight on Tuesday. I love these Tuesday cards. There's only one game on the extra board. Some weeks there's none. These are the big boys playing tonight on Tuesday. And I've isolated 3 situations that are really strong. And you might want to pay attention. I'm number 1 ranked in college and pro basketball side since the season began way back in October, up 79 units of profit. And we have several more months to go. So sure, get the single play for 25, get the 3-for-1 special for just 29. You're getting the second and third game for $2 each, or consider a weekly or monthly special as well. Check it out along with bonus free plays every day on my page, Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. Let's get to a free play in the early card at 6:30 Eastern tonight. We're going to take a look at Villanova at home, laying the 6.5. It checks a lot of boxes for what I like to look for here in February conference play. First of all, we get a strong home court. Villanova just 8-5 straight up, but it's still a strong home court, and they'll be ready to play tonight because they have revenge, legitimate revenge from a loss less than a month ago. Back on January 27th, they went to Butler. They blew a 9-point halftime lead and lost by 7. And I'd like to dig into the box score. Always look at the 3-point shooting. I look at turnovers. I look at the free throw line. Those are the things that could be kind of random, especially for road teams. Villanova was outshot from 3-point range. Butler was +6 in the game. They're also 1% better. But what jumps out to me is that Villanova made 7 more 2-point attempts. So that's +10 from 2-point range. The reason they lost was because they had a 22-9 free throw attempt disadvantage. And that was misleading because if you look on the season, both Butler and Villanova give up the same amount of free throws per game. They both give up 24. On average, by the way, teams average about 23. But Villanova gets to the line 28 times a game. Butler only 23. So that was home court bias officiating. Also, Villanova had 14 turnovers in the game. That's very unusual and less likely to happen again tonight. And in fact, to put it in perspective, since they played 5 games ago, Villanova's had 7, 5, 9, 8, and 7 turnovers their last 5 games. And Butler does not force turnovers. Butler's had 9 turnovers or less forced in 4 of their last 5 since that Villanova game. So I think there was a lot of weird things that happened for Butler at home. They took advantage of it. They barely won in the second half. That doesn't happen tonight. I like Villanova -6.5. And as we're doing this show live at 2:00 Eastern today on Tuesday, that did steam to 7 at one of the sharper leading indicating books offshore. Villanova's the sharp side in this game, and I think the line's going higher. So lock in Villanova -6.5 at 6:30 Eastern tonight. Don't forget a bonus free play on my page, and more importantly, a 3-for-1 best bet special for Tuesday night college hoops. the number one ranked college and pro basketball capper this year, Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
All right, good stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, that first battle between them, that went to what, double overtime? Or one overtime? It was a crazy back and forth game that nobody wanted to seem to win there.
Right, and keep in mind, pace is something I didn't point out in that analysis, but I'm glad you brought that up, Joe. Butler, when they made the back-to-back runs a decade ago under Brad Stevens, were one of the slowest half-court teams in the country. They play fast now. Villanova is the real slow-down, good defensive half-court team. So that's another reason I think they have the edge. They can dictate their tempo. And that game, I think, was only a single overtime, but there were like 41 points scored in OT. It also was a little bit of a misleading. It was 64-64 at the end of regulation. So another game in which, Butler kind of pulled ahead and won by 7 in overtime, a little misleading.
Yeah, and it still landed under, I think, even with all those points in the overtime, which is hysterical.
It was 140 and a half. It landed 169. It was 140 and a half, but it was well under, like you said, in regulation by like double digits.
Oh, yes.
So
it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
41 points in one overtime. Wow. Where the hell was that in the first half of the game? Well, there you got it, though. But Villanova is getting to the put up or shut the hell up point of the season here. They got to look to get something done. If they don't, NIT, here we come. And maybe it's
Joe, it was double
Jay
overtime. I checked. It was double OT, just so we don't get any nasty comment. Right? The viewers are getting upset, by the way, because the home team's on the left. Our graphics producer, Eric, said he's going to fix it. But several people have been getting confused by that, so we don't want to get them upset with any other factual inaccuracies here. So it was double.
Well,
OT.
when we talk about confused, it basically means Brian Power. It wasn't quite sure where that game was, but it's all right.
Like we started.
No problem. Full circle, right back.
Morgantown,
good luck to your Akron Zips tonight, Brian Power.
No problem. No problem.
Hey,
just saying.
Not my Akron Zips, by the
Brian
way.
Leonard.
Just saying.
Joe, Brian Leonard actually went to Akron.
Listen, Zippy, keep it quiet.
Brian.
We got the gold sheet we got to get to here. They too have a best bet. Our friends from thegoldsheet.com. Oh, I like this one out in the Mountain West. Boise State laying 3,000 points versus San Jose State. I might be exaggerating, but what the hell is the difference? San Jose State is awful. Boise State looking to get right. And I got to tell you, our friends from the Gold Sheet, I think we're all on the same page that no number is actually high enough here. They're going to lay to 15.5 since Boise State is coming off that 24-point wire-to-wire win against Fresno State last time out. And it looks like San Jose State's leading guard there, Alvaro Cardenas, he missed Saturday's loss against Wyoming. Doesn't look like he's going to be going in this one either. Defense also ranking in the bottom 2 in the Mountain West in just about every statistical category known to mankind. So really not a team you should be worried about laying double digits against because, quite honestly, they're going to get beat and probably beat rather soundly here. So head over to goldsheet.com. Check out the write-up of this game along with a bunch of other games that they got ready to go. Great. Oh, what do you got there, Trig?
I gotta jump in here. So I totally forgot at any point in the show to promo my 5% play, but I did remember, but that's okay. I have a 5% play up at the site. I remembered when you started talking about San Jose State because someone DM'd me this morning and was like, Trig, if your 5% play is San Jose State, I'm not buying it. And I was like, well, in my head, I was like, you got to buy it to find out. But then I just decided to, I'll put the PSA out. My 5% play is not San Jose State.
Yes.
It's not that game. I actually did, because of course, if you followed, I did burn some money on that team. But I won against them over the weekend. I played Wyoming. And so just to let everyone know, I'm not going to subject you to 15.5 San Jose State. We'll roll with the Gold Sheet. Hopefully they're right. But it's not that game. Just wanted to let you know that.
Oh, I'm glad that we settled that out because we don't want any more angry people in the chat room yelling at Brian Power. So way to clean that up there, Trig. Good stuff there. Zip it, Zippy. Just zip it here. Plenty of opportunities, guys, for you to make it a profitable Tuesday here, and it starts by telling Steve here, Villanova laying 6.5 against Butler. He likes it. Trig broke down Toledo for you, laying the 2 against Zippy Zips here. And, of course, VCU taking on UMass, likes UMass as well. And you got Bryan Power, like in West Virginia, in Morgantown, plus 3.5 over a road-weary UCF team here and their friends at the Gold Sheet. Boise State laying over 2 touchdowns to get it done here tonight. Don't forget, you can visit Bryan Power. Adam Trigger's got the 5% ready to go. Merrill locked and loaded. He said with 3 best bets tonight in college basketball, all available at their page at WagerTalk.com. On behalf of these guys, we appreciate the time. Guys, listen, best of luck with all the plays here tonight. We'll be back again tomorrow with another edition of the College Basketball Tip-Off Show. Until then, best of luck. We'll talk.